On today's show, I make 5 bold predictions about the Rangers' 2024 season, including why the Rangers' team MVP won't be Marcus Semien or Corey Seager. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into my 5 bold predictions for this season, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Now, I teased this in the intro, and we'll get into why I think the Rangers team MVP is going to be someone other than Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. But the number one, my first bold prediction for this season, and I think at the end of the year, it might end up looking like the least bold of these 5, but prediction number 1. Wyatt Langford starts the All-Star game, wins AL Rookie of the Year, and earns MVP votes in his first season in the big leagues. Now, those are all pretty lofty goals for a first-year player, not only just starting the All-Star game when he's going to be a DH/left fielder, but his stiffest competition for votes at DH in the AL All-Star team just left the American League in Shohei Ohtani. It is probably going to be between him and Yordan Alvarez, unless Yordan Alvarez is going to be a left fielder. But I think that Wyatt Langford might end up as the best DH in the American League, not Major League Baseball. I don't think he's going to be better than Shohei Ohtani his first year. Maybe that's a bit too bold on my part. But no, I think not only the fact that I think he's going to be exceptional this year, I think he's going to be one of the best hitters in the American League, one of the best rookie hitters we've seen in a long time. And there's a reason he's getting comparisons to Mike Trout. It's because he's got that kind of athleticism. He's got that kind of hitting talent. Now, he's not Mike Trout. He's not. That's beside the point. By the time he was finished with his age 22 season, Mike Trout had 2 top 2 MVP finishes, 3 Silver Sluggers, 3 All-Star games, and an MVP. Probably should have had at least 2, if not 3, by the time he finished his age 22 season. And oh, by the way, he had multiple 9 WAR seasons. 10.5, 8.9, and 7.7 WAR seasons in his first 3 full years in the big leagues. And by the way, Wyatt Langford has not made his Major League debut yet, so that's kind of the main difference between him and Mike Trout. But the hitting acumen, the things that Wyatt Langford does well, and I'm not basing this off of 36 games, however many it was in the minor leagues, or the 16 or however many games he played in spring training this year. Those were all very exciting, very fun, very good performances. But it's the rave reviews from the Rangers front office. It's the rave reviews from every scout that I've ever talked to that's seen Wyatt Langford has just gushed about how good this kid is, how insanely good this kid is. And every prospect evaluator, every prospect writer that I've talked to, I asked them, like, okay, as he kept crushing it in the minor leagues, like week after week after week, I'm like, okay, well, why did this guy slide to 4? Why are there questions about this kid? What is left for this kid to prove? And every time the answer I was met with is, well, they're not really sure about him in left field, but hitting wise, every flaw that he had, there were questions about, how he would handle, right-handed sliders, chasing them a little bit too often away from him, chasing out of the strike zone, expanding the strike zone a bit too much. Pretty much every question about, if he could hit high fastballs or whatever the most difficult type of pitch to hit was, he shored that up. He can hit everything and everything and everything. He has a great discipline, a great knowledge of the strike zone, just like Evan Carter, but he's also got so much raw power that he could, fuel the entirety of Globe Life Field just on his thigh muscles alone for probably centuries. The kid is an unreal talent. He's insanely fast. He's insanely athletic, and he just keeps getting better. Everything he gets thrown at him, it just does not faze him. That's why, even though he's going to have some rookie struggles at some point this year, he will, probably. He'll probably have a month with an OPS below 800, I'm pretty sure. But I think this kid is a special talent, a superstar in the making. And granted, I did say get MVP votes. That doesn't mean I think he's going to win AL MVP his rookie year or finish second like Mike Trout did. Let's look at the bottom of the leaderboard for AL MVP vote getters last year. There was Josh Naylor, a 2.5 WAR season, an 842 OPS as a first baseman. That was the 22nd place MVP finisher who got, I believe, one fifth place vote? He got one vote. Yeah, so literally one fifth place vote. I think that Wyatt Langford can definitely do that this year. There are 20 position players who got votes. So you take out Garrett Cole and Sonny Gray, who also got MVP votes. And is Wyatt Langford going to be a top 20 position player in the American League next year? I think that's not outlandish to say. I think the ceiling on this kid is just astronomically high. The Rangers have already seen how well he hits, and I think that by the end of the season, he might be the Rangers' number 3 hitter. I really think that might end up being the case, or batting cleanup, he was batting 6th on Monday's game, I believe 6th, but behind Josh Young, behind Evan Carter, behind Adolis Garcia. I think that could be where he ends up, but this kid has yet to struggle with professional pitching. He really barely struggled at Florida, outside of having a very sensitive injury that kept him out for not nearly as long as it should have kept him out for. This kid is just an all-world hitter. There is no hole in his game offensively, and I think defensively he's going to really come into his own in left field. But he won't have to, because Evan Carter is sensational in left field. I think Leody Taveras is a very good center fielder, and just rotating him around to left field off of DH every once in a while, giving Evan Carter, Leody, and Adolis Garcia some half days at DH, and whoever else you need to give a half day at DH, whether it's Seager, whether it's Young, whether it's Nathaniel Lowe or Jonah Heim. I think he's just got so much upside, it just makes me weep thinking about it. This kid is going to do great things this year. I think he is going to run away with the Rookie of the Year vote, and I think Evan Carter might have a 4 or 5 WAR season this year. That's how good I think Wyatt Langford is going to be. I think hitting 280 with I think 30 bombs is by no means off the table. 100 RBI season with a 30-30 season as a rookie. I think he can definitely do that. There's nothing on a baseball field that I think this kid can't do, and the questions about him defensively, I think, are insanely overblown. Because if you got a kid with this insanely high of an upside, that you let your DH go, the guy who hit third at times for the Rangers in the World Series run, an 870 OPS, the guy that really carried this Rangers offense in the month of August when it was absolutely struggling, in Mitch Garver. That is a quality hitter. That is a very, very good hitter, all-star caliber, Silver Slugger caliber hitter. They let go of Mitch Garver because they saw this kid Wyatt Langford and said, "Oh, yep, let's just plug that in right away," and watch him annihilate everybody in spring training and giggle and laugh to ourselves the entirety of spring training when we're like, I don't know. Let's see if he can make the opening day roster. We got questions about his defense, knowing full well everybody, Wyatt Langford, Chris Young, Bruce Bochy, and everybody who watched thought, yeah, this Wyatt Langford kid is something special. And I think his rookie year is going to be the best rookie year any Ranger has ever had. And I don't think it's going to be particularly close. Coming up, we're going to get to the rest of my 5 bold predictions, including who I think the Rangers team MVP is going to be. And spoiler alert, it's not those two up the middle of the infield. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best way to get on the action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Testing your skills on PrizePicks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. PrizePicks is so simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks now offers Apple Pay for a quick and easy deposit into your account this basketball season. So download the app today, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the PrizePicks app today, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be back talking about opening day and why this is just the start of a dynasty for your Texas Rangers. Now, my number 2 bold prediction. I was talking about the team MVP and why it's not going to be Marcus Semien or Corey Seager. And it's actually not even going to be a player. It is going to be a 12-way tie between everybody on the Rangers medical staff. Team physician, Dr. Keith Meister. Team physician internal medicine, Dr. David Hunter. Associate team physician, Dr. Jesse Evan. Assistant team physician, Dr. Shane Saroyer. I should have read this ahead of time so I could actually pronounce these well. Head athletic trainer, Matt Lucero. Team physical therapist, Reagan Wong. The athletic trainers, Sean Fields, Jacob Newbern. Director, strength and conditioning, Logan Franson. Assistant strength and conditioning coach, Wade Lamont. Major league performance dietitian, Katie McInnes. And massage therapist, Raul Cardenas. I think these guys and girls are going to be the most important members of the Rangers front office, medical staff, any part of this organization. The medical staff is so important every year, but this year especially because, again, the entire mantra of this whole season is wait till those big guys in the rotation get back. And when are those guys getting back? Well, that's going to depend a lot on, how their bodies heal, how they take care of themselves, how they get ready, and a little bit of sheer dumb luck. But some of that sheer dumb luck is caused by having a fantastic medical staff. The Rangers have one of the best medical staffs in the league. Dr. Keith Meister is the guy, the surgeon for elbow and shoulder injuries and surgeries like that. He is just the guy in baseball now when it comes to these modified Tommy John UCL repair surgeries. And I think that because of this staff, the Rangers, my bold prediction is that Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer combined for 30 regular season starts, end up getting fully healthy come playoff time, and absolutely dominate, leading the Rangers to their second World Series championship. Now, the World Series championship is not my bold prediction. I already did that on Monday's show, talking about where I thought the Rangers would finish. I already said they'd finish with 95 wins, and win the AL West. But I think that is going to be largely in part of the health of these two old guys who throw baseballs real good. If they're healthy, and you can get 30 starts out of these guys, I'm thinking it leans more 20 to 23 starts from Max Scherzer, maybe 7 to 10 starts from Jacob deGrom. And that's me being very optimistic, so this is why this is probably the boldest prediction I've got on here. But I talked a lot about it on yesterday's show and how I think Max Scherzer's getting overlooked. I mean, it's hard to overlook a guy with 3 Cy Youngs and say, I don't know if I believe in that guy anymore. And granted, there are some reasons for both of these guys. There's a lot of reason for pessimism on both of these guys getting healthy. But there's a lot of reason for optimism for these guys as well. They both won World Series championships last year. They both get rings. They both help. Without them, the Rangers probably don't make the playoffs and don't end up winning the World Series without the 14 combined starts that these guys had in the regular season. They just don't. And if you remember, when Jacob deGrom went down for the year with that UCL injury, of him just weeping at his press conference because he knew this team was special. And he wanted to be out there. He wanted to be on the mound doing what Nathan Eovaldi did in the playoffs. Doing what Jordan Montgomery did in the playoffs and just absolutely shoving against the best teams in baseball. But he couldn't do it because he wasn't healthy. And I think both these guys want to get back there, want to be on the mound for more than a combined 3 innings in the World Series this year. I think they both want that extremely badly, and I think they're going to work their absolute tails off to get there, and I think that there is so much upside if these guys get to even 75-80% of what they have been in their career. Those are still absolutely unbelievably dominant, world-beating pitchers. And if Jacob deGrom is on the hill, I have yet to see in the last 5-6 years a mediocre version of Jacob deGrom. I know it's the second Tommy John surgery, or UCL repair surgery, because it was not directly Tommy John surgery. It was a modified Tommy John, which hopefully ends up strengthening the UCL and strengthening the elbow so that he doesn't have to have any of these elbow issues again, which is very hopeful for a guy who just defies the laws of physics of throwing that hard and that well from that frame with how his body is constructed. But if anybody's going to do it, I think it's going to be Jacob deGrom. And if anybody is going to come back from back surgery in his age 39 season and go back to being exceptional, which he was literally just 2 years ago and was pretty darn exceptional down the stretch for the Rangers in the regular season, I think it's going to be Max Scherzer. I don't know how you keep overlooking, how baseball in general keeps overlooking these guys with a combined 5 Cy Young awards and think this rotation is absolutely mid and cooked. And even if it is, the rest of this offense is insane. But getting these 2 guys back, I think, is hugely important for this Rangers season. And if the Rangers do get a combined 30 starts from these guys in the regular season, even if they don't, just as long as both these guys are fully healthy come playoff time and are reasonably the pitcher that we expect, I will have a very difficult time picking against the Rangers to win it all yet again, because these guys are so darn good. Now, my next bold prediction, I don't know if these keep getting bolder or less bold as we go along, but that's for you to decide. Number 3 bold prediction: Jose Leclerc becomes a top 5 closer in baseball. Yeah, I'm just spitting heaters on this one with all of my bold predictions. But I love what I saw from Jose Leclerc down the stretch. I have loved what I've seen from him for many extended stints in his major league career, but especially that run in October. The question with Jose Leclerc was never his stuff. It really wasn't. It was about confidence, which it really is for a lot of closers, a lot of relievers in general. It's just they've got to have the confidence to go out there, be consistent, know that they can get guys out and destroy them. And that's what Jose Leclerc did for an entire month en route to the Rangers' first ever World Series championship. You look at all his expected numbers from the regular season last year, and even when his stuff was down, even with the fastball velocity was trending down, the rest of his stuff is still incredibly good. That Slambio, or slider as it's called by StatCast, and his cutter, his changeup, and he's even got a little bit of a two-seamer that he mixes in every once in a while. It's just such a good combination for him. He is so crafty. He is so wily. He has all the confidence in the world in himself after that October run, because how can you not? And the stuff has been there. And if he can maintain that velocity for the full season, get a little bit better with that walk rate of not in the bottom 10% of the league, which I think he very much can be, there's no reason why this guy can't be one of the 5 best closers in baseball. He's going to have a lot more help in the bullpen this year. I don't think he's going to have to pitch every single game like he did in the playoffs, but I think the Rangers are going to use him quite a bit. Could be an all-star this year, but I think he's going to be sensational this year, and that's going to lead to a lot more closer wins the Rangers did not do basically at all last year. I think having that help of Josh Sborz, of David Robertson, of Kirby Yates, these guys who have been closers in Major League Baseball for a long time, and for him getting the confidence from his manager to be the closer from the start of the season. Because when he first got back into that closer's role in that game against the Mets, where someone asked him, did you think that you were going to come in that save situation? He said, no, I didn't know. Now he knows. He's the closer. He's the guy who just did it. He's the one who carried this team to their first World Series championship. And without what he was doing in the postseason, going on that magical run, and granted, I don't think he's going to be that untouchable for the entire year. That would be awesome. I think it's possible, maybe not likely, but I think there's no reason why this guy can't be one of the top 5 closers in all of Major League Baseball once we get to the end of this season. Coming up, we get to the final 2 predictions from this season, including about some All-Stars taking yet another step forward. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. That's why Gametime is here for you. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. With Gametime, it is by far and away the best way I have ever found to buy tickets to any kind of live event that you want. Gametime makes it so easy to get your tickets, to see how much it's going to cost, and they've got all kinds of great deals, including the Gametime Guarantee. Gametime Guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find the tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Friday's show, I'll actually be back late Thursday night after the Rangers opening day, live on YouTube, reacting to the Rangers' first game of the season. Now, let's get to bold prediction number 4. This bold prediction is pretty bold. I'm starting to get up there. I ran out of bold things and I just kept getting bolder. Number 4 prediction: Josh Young and Jonah Heim hit a combined 60 plus home runs this year, and both win Silver Sluggers. Now, this feels almost, actually, no, it does feel a little unhinged, honestly, of me predicting a guy who hasn't hit 20 career home runs in basically 3 seasons. He hasn't ever hit the 20 home run mark in Jonah Heim. He's been close, really close this last year. He had 16 home runs in 2022 and 18 last year, but really fell off offensively in the second half. Josh Young was on a monster tear, on pace to break Adolis Garcia's Rangers rookie record of 31 home runs. But unfortunately, a line drive to the thumb ended those hopes and dreams, and Josh Young finished with 23 home runs. He has a combined 28 career home runs in 148 major league games, and I think there is another level for both of them offensively. They both fell off very significantly in the second half last year. In the first half of the season, both had OPSs over 800, and in the second half, both were below 700. So 812 OPS in the first half for Jonah Heim, and then a significantly lower, a 656 OPS in the second half for him. First half for Josh Young, an 835 OPS, and then a 638 OPS in 34 games in the second half for Mr. Young. Now, I don't know what way this splits up. I think there's a possibility that both hit 30 home runs. That's probably pretty aggressive for me on Jonah Heim, especially considering that he will be coming off of the longest season of his career by far, and a prolonged run through the postseason where his bat just was not quite there. But I think what the Rangers have done this spring training of really, really slow playing Jonah Heim, I think that'll definitely lead to him being healthier throughout the season, to maintaining more of those offensive numbers. And I think, honestly, he mashes left-handed pitching, and last year he only had a couple of home runs against lefties. An 856 OPS against lefties versus 733 against righties, but 16 home runs against righties versus 2 against lefties. Granted, he had 4 times as many plate appearances against right-handed pitching, but still, that doesn't really add up. I think we get a 20-plus homer season from a catcher for the first time since Robinson Chirinos from Jonah Heim this year. I think his competition for Silver Slugger in the American League at catcher, I think, frankly, it's a little overrated. Outside of, obviously, Adley Rutschman, he's a fantastic offensive player at catcher, but the pop is not anywhere near what Jonah Heim has. I think Heim's ability to not strike out and to work decent walks, and I think that he's just going to have a much better overall offensive season. Cal Raleigh led the league with 30 home runs from the catching position last year. Jonah Heim had only 18. Adley Rutschman had 20, even though Adley Rutschman had 687 plate appearances, nearly 200 more than Jonah Heim, and he only had 2 more home runs. I think a healthy Jonah Heim is a guy who slugs 20, 25, maybe even 30 home runs. Maybe 30 is pushing it, but I think 25 is more than in the realm of possibilities. I think Josh Young, his offensive ceiling is through the roof. The guy absolutely annihilated lefties last year, and he had really not great strikeout to walk rates. The walks were much lower than I thought they would be at this level, and the strikeouts were much higher than I thought they would be. I think he's capable of getting much better and having a much improved season like Adolis Garcia did. If he can follow that game plan of not expanding the zone nearly as much, still expanding a little bit, but working that walk rate, upping it, maybe not the insane level of jump in walk rate that Adolis Garcia had from 22 to 23, but I think that's in the realm of capabilities. The guy hits the absolute crap out of the baseball. He mashes against righties and against lefties, obviously much better against lefties, but he's still country strong. He hits home runs to every part of the field, opposite field, against righties, against lefties, center field, left field. It didn't matter. Josh Young was homering. And if he can keep himself healthy, and I think he will have plenty of protection this line. I think this line will get to the point where it's just there's no protection specifically from any 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. It's just there's going to be a million. There will be literally 0 easy outs and 9 darn good hitters, 1 through 9. And I think Josh Young has got such an incredibly high work ethic. I know the calf injury slowed him down a little bit in this spring training, but I've seen this kid's work ethic. I've seen what the Rangers think of this kid. I've seen how obsessed and meticulous he is about baseball, about getting better at every single part of his game all the time. I think that strikeout and walk rate is going to improve a lot this year, and I think that's going to open up a lot offensively for him, to the point where he might end up being the Rangers' number 3 or cleanup hitter by the end of the year. That's how highly I think of Josh Young's offensive ceiling. And it might just be that Josh hits 42 home runs and Jonah Heim comes back in with 18. I'm really hoping that that's not the case, that both these guys hit 20 to 30 home runs each. This is probably my boldest prediction. But I think that Josh Young can be one of the best hitting third basemen in the American League. I think he's got the edge. I think he'll have a better offensive season than fellow AL West member Alex Bregman. And, at the end of the season, if Alex Bregman hits me with that, I guess we'll never know, then I guess we'll never know. But if these two guys can combine for 60-plus home runs, both win Silver Sluggers, I think this offense is going to be the best in baseball. Now, my final bold prediction. How much bolder? You're thinking probably, how much bolder can this man get? He is just fully unhinged with opening day optimism. And, you're probably right. But my number 5 bold prediction for this season: Adolis Garcia finishes top 5 in American League MVP voting, solidifying himself as one of Major League Baseball's best players, period. This is one of the best players in baseball, I think, already at this point. I think he should be, universally a top 50 player in baseball after that monumental display in the playoffs last year, set the record for the most RBIs in a single playoff run, breaking the cursed David Freese's MLB record set in 2011. And of course, he did it with a walk-off home run in the 11th inning that we will all cherish for the rest of our natural or unnatural born lives. This guy is insanely good at literally everything on a baseball field, and he still keeps getting doubted. I don't understand what more Adolis Garcia needs to do to prove to people that this is one of the best players in baseball. He should be one of the faces of the league. The smile, the charisma, and the talent. The overwhelming talent. And not to mention the fact that this guy just keeps getting better every single year. I mean, the leap that he made in just going from one of the least walked players in baseball to one of the most walked players in baseball. Finally winning a Gold Glove, which is probably a couple years overdue. Finally getting the recognition in the playoffs, getting to get to the biggest stage and putting on a freaking show and owning the Houston Astros in the ALCS. And maybe would have owned the Diamondbacks a little bit more had not for an oblique. Ended his season 2 games prematurely. This guy is just otherworldly talented. He deserves his due of one of the best hitters in baseball. I think that he honestly got unlucky. He did get unlucky with some of his BABIP luck this past year. hitting 280 on balls in play where 300 is average. And when you're hitting the baseball as hard as Adolis Garcia is, which very few people are, his hard hit rate was in the top 10% of baseball, same with his barrel rate and his average exit velocity and expected slugging. All of those things, top 10% of baseball. And yet everyone sees that and they think, well, the Cardinals let him go and they're pretty smart. So maybe the Rangers actually, maybe this is just fool's gold. No. When he struggled down the stretch his rookie year, you thought, okay, maybe that's fool's gold. When he was another 3.5 WAR season in 2022, still had, 27 home runs, still had an OPS of 756. It was amazing defensively and stole 25 bags in 2022. You thought, okay, it's probably not fool's gold, but he's just like an above average regular, and that's a nice get for the Rangers for cash considerations. And then he comes out last year as 39 bombs, still misses some time, comes back and goes on a world-beating playoff run, makes his second All-Star team, wins a Gold Glove, lights the world on fire, and still, some people are thinking, is he really even a top 5 right fielder in baseball? Yes! Unequivocally, yes! He's a top 5 outfielder in baseball. He is sensational, and I think there might even still be another level left for him to get to. Because the season he put up last year, in the regular season and the postseason combined, I think he has got another level in him. If he can tone down on striking out on that high fastball, which I think he can. I think he can find a little bit more consistency, which he was very streaky at times last year. I think he'll still be pretty streaky, but those hot streaks, as we've seen, when they come in the right moments, like October, they are absolutely glorious. But this guy is owed more respect than he is getting, and I think after 2024, when the Rangers start to establish themselves as a gosh darn dynasty, Adolis Garcia is going to be one of the faces of the league, a top 5 MVP finish, and finally seen as the absolute superstar, one of the faces of baseball that he should be. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.